I heard a comment that changed everything for me. It started as a joke, just some words thrown around between my fiancé and his friend, but it didn't feel like a joke to me. It felt like a knife to the heart. "You need to lock her down, get her pregnant before she figures out what a dumbass I am," he said, laughing with his buddy. I froze. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "She'll realize she deserves better than this," he continued, his voice light, as if it was all in good fun. I didn't laugh. How could I? His words hit me so hard that I couldn't breathe for a second. From that moment on, I felt like my whole world was crumbling around me. And the moment he said "thathas" haunted me ever since. This wasn't just a careless joke. It was a sign that something was wrong in my relationship, something I wasn't ready to face. And now I had to decide, do I forgive him? Or do I finally face the truth about the man I thought I was going to marry? If you're going through something like this right now, comment the number 1 so I know I'm not alone. Like this video if you've ever felt invisible inside your own home. Subscribe if you believe that even forgotten stories deserve to be heard. Let me take you back to how it all started. I met him 3 years ago while I was on vacation. It felt like something out of a movie. He was charming, confident, everything I didn't know I was looking for. We instantly clicked. After a few weeks, he followed me on Instagram, and the rest of it? Well, it was history. Everything fell into place so perfectly. We got engaged last year. I thought we were living the dream. We were making plans for the future, moving in together, talking about the wedding. And then, just a month later, I found out I was pregnant. We weren't planning it, but we were happy at least. I thought we were. I had always wanted a family, but I wanted to experience more before jumping in. But here I was, facing a huge change. I've always been independent. I work for my dad's company, built my life from the ground up. I thought we were building something solid together. I thought we were on the same page. But that Thanksgiving dinner, that was the turning point. It wasn't about the food or the decorations, it was about the cracks that started showing. He was drinking more than usual. It's not that I minded. He'd always been the life of the party. But there was something different about the way he was acting. He wasn't just laughing with my brother. He was talking louder, laughing a little too much. I was in the kitchen with my mom, talking about the wedding, planning the future. I felt this warmth, this sense of calm. But then, I heard him. His voice cut through the air, and my world came to a standstill. "You need to lock her down. Get her pregnant before she realizes what a dumbass I am," he said, and they both laughed. I froze. My stomach dropped. I couldn't breathe. It was like my mind couldn't process it. It didn't make sense. Was that really him? Was he really saying this about me? I didn't want to believe it, but the words, they were there, hanging in the air like a weight I couldn't escape. In that moment, everything changed. It wasn't just a joke. It was a harsh reminder of how I was seen, how I was perceived. "She'll realize she deserves better," he said. Those words kept echoing in my head. Was that what he really thought of me? Someone he could just lock down with a baby? And that's when the panic set in. I didn't just feel hurt. I felt trapped, suffocated by the weight of his words, like I had no way out. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, but I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I kept telling myself it was just a slip-up, that maybe I was overreacting. But deep down, I knew something had shifted. I was no longer sure of what we had. His words had cracked the foundation of everything we'd built, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I was lying there, all alone in the dark, with the weight of that comment crushing me. He was next to me, but I felt miles away. I wanted to confront him, to ask him what he really meant. But I didn't. I stayed quiet, hoping it would go away, hoping I could pretend it didn't matter. But it did matter. And the worst part? I knew deep down that I had to face it. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. Something had changed and I wasn't sure how to fix it. The days after Thanksgiving felt like walking through fog. I tried to act like everything was fine, smile, cook dinner, go through the motions of daily life, but something had shifted. And it wasn't just in him. It was in me too. I kept telling myself, it's just a joke. He was drunk. You're overreacting. But the more I thought about it, the more that one sentence gnawed at me. Get her pregnant before she realizes what a dumbass I am. Why did it hurt so much? Wasn't I supposed to be happy? Wasn't this the life I dreamed of? We were getting married. We had a baby. We were about to build a future together. But how could I ignore the fact that he saw me as something to lock down? The truth kept creeping in no matter how much I tried to push it away. He didn't see me as an equal partner. He saw me as something to be controlled, something to keep, something to hold on to, before I figured out the truth about him. I tried to push it away. I really did, but I felt suffocated by it. I couldn't breathe without hearing that phrase in my head. I watched him, his casual gestures of affection, flowers, dinner, a massage appointment he'd booked for me. They were nice, but they felt like band-aids on a wound that needed stitches. His attempts to make things better only made me feel worse. It was like he was trying to convince me that everything was okay, but I knew it wasn't. There was a part of me that wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that he didn't mean what he said. Maybe I was just being too sensitive. After all, he was the person I loved, the father of my child. He didn't mean to hurt me, right? But deep down, I knew. I knew that if I ignored this, I would be setting myself up for more hurt down the road. But what was I supposed to do? I had a baby now. I had a life with him. I couldn't just walk away, could I? I kept thinking about the future. I kept thinking about our daughter. Was this the kind of relationship I wanted her to grow up with? One where the foundation was built on jokes like that? One where I was just a means to an end? I couldn't escape the feeling of being trapped. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I wasn't just trapped by him. I was trapped by my own fear. Fear of confronting the truth. Fear of losing the dream I thought we were building. And the fear of being alone. But was I really alone? Was I living in the illusion of a perfect relationship when it was already crumbling? I started questioning everything myself, him, our life. And in that moment I realized I couldn't keep pretending. Not for him, not for me, and definitely not for our daughter. I needed to find the courage to face the truth, no matter how much it scared me, because I couldn't keep living this lie. The days after Thanksgiving felt like a slow-motion train wreck. I tried to act like everything was fine, but the cracks kept getting bigger. That night, I told myself I was just overreacting. But the more I told myself that, the more I realized it wasn't true. His words kept echoing in my head like a broken record. Get her pregnant before she figures out what a dumbass I am. It wasn't just a stupid joke. It was how he saw me, how he thought about me. And it made me sick to my stomach. I didn't want to confront him. I kept hoping it would go away, that things would go back to normal. But how could they? How could I pretend everything was okay when the foundation of our relationship had just cracked wide open? And that's when it hit me. He wasn't the person I thought he was. He wasn't the man I'd fallen in love with. He was someone who saw me as nothing more than a pawn in his game. Someone to trap. Someone to keep, nothing more. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I couldn't stay silent. I couldn't let this pass. So, I decided to confront him. I was done waiting. I needed answers. I needed him to face what he said, what he thought, what he believed about me. Because if he couldn't even understand that, then this whole thing was over. I asked him straight out, "Why did you say that? Why did you tell your friend you needed to lock me down?" I was shaking, but I wasn't going to back down. His eyes went wide, and for a moment he said nothing. He just stared at me, like I was the one who had gone mad. Then, finally, he spoke, but I could tell right away. It wasn't real. I didn't mean it like that, Kate. I was drunk. It was a stupid joke. I don't even remember saying it, he said. His words came out fast, like he was trying to cover up something, but there was no apology, no remorse, just excuses. And in that moment, I knew. He didn't get it. He wasn't sorry. He didn't care. I wasn't buying it. Don't tell me it was just a joke. Don't make this less than what it is. I couldn't hold back anymore. I was done. You don't get it. You never get it. You've never seen me as an equal. To you, I'm just someone you need to trap. That's what you think of me, right? That's all I am to you? He looked at me like I'd just slapped him. For a moment, his eyes were wide. His lips parted like he wanted to say something but couldn't. I didn't give him the chance to speak. I had heard enough. I'm not some prize you get to keep, I said, my voice steady and unshakable. I am more than your plan, more than a way for you to feel secure. And if you can't see that, then we are done. I'm done. He stepped back, his face going red with anger. He couldn't hide it anymore. You're blowing this out of proportion, he snapped. It was a joke, Kate. Why can't you just get over it? And there it was, the moment I'd been waiting for. The moment I realized that everything I feared was true. He didn't understand me. Not in the way I thought he did. He didn't respect me. He didn't see me as a person. He saw me as something to control, something to own, something to keep under his thumb. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just stood there looking at him. I didn't need to say anything more. The truth was out in the open now. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. Not because I wanted to end things, but because I finally saw him for who he really was, and I realized that I was stronger than I thought. Stronger than I had ever been with him. I took a deep breath, my hands shaking but steadying. I looked at him one last time. Maybe we're not fine. Maybe this isn't working. And maybe it's time to let go. His jaw clenched. I could see the anger in his eyes. But there was something else too. Something I hadn't seen before. Fear. Real fear. He didn't want to lose me. But he wasn't willing to change. Not really. And that was the moment when I knew. I was done. I turned and walked away. I didn't look back. For the first time, I didn't feel the need to apologize, to explain. I just walked away. And with every step, I felt freer. I wasn't going to stay in a relationship where I wasn't respected. I wasn't going to keep giving pieces of myself to someone who couldn't see my worth. And as I walked out the door, I knew one thing: this was the first step toward my freedom. The days after I walked away felt like I was trapped in a void. The world outside kept turning, but I stood still, paralyzed by the weight of my decision. I had done what I needed to do, but that didn't make it easy. The silence of the apartment, the absence of his presence, made me feel like I was suffocating. I had expected freedom, but I was met with emptiness. The ache in my chest didn't fade as I thought it would. Instead, it deepened, pulling me back into the memories of what we once were. I spent days second-guessing myself. I had to keep reminding myself that it was the right choice. But how could I not miss the man I thought I loved? How could I not mourn the life I thought I would have? It wasn't just about the love I had lost. It was about the version of myself that I had abandoned. The woman who put everyone else first. The woman who convinced herself that love meant sacrifice. But then, one night, when everything seemed to crash down on me, I looked at my daughter. She was the one thing that kept me going. And in that quiet moment, I realized something: that I couldn't give her a life where I was invisible. I couldn't show her that love meant suffocating, that love meant losing yourself. I had to be strong for her. I had to be the kind of woman I wanted her to become. That realization hit me like a wave, and suddenly, the pain didn't feel like loss anymore. It felt like liberation. I had spent so long trying to fix someone else, but I never stopped to think about what I needed. I had poured everything into a relationship that wasn't meant to last, and I had lost sight of who I really was. but I found myself again. I was not just the woman who stayed, who endured. I was the woman who walked away and chose herself. And I realized I was stronger than I had ever been. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't easy. There were moments when I wanted to pick up the phone, when I wanted to hear his voice and slip back into the comfort of the old routine. But every time I did, I reminded myself that the version of him I was longing for was a fantasy. The man I had loved didn't exist. The man I had stayed with had never really seen me, never really understood me. I had to stop living for the dream of what could be and start living for what I deserved. Then came the call. I saw his name flash on my phone, and I hesitated. For a moment, I thought I might answer, but then I stopped myself. I wasn't that woman anymore. I had learned to put myself first. So, I let it ring, and when I finally picked up, I knew what I needed to say. His voice was shaky, apologetic. "I'm sorry, Kate. I want to make this work. We can fix this, I promise." But as I listened to him, something inside me snapped. He wasn't sorry for me. He wasn't sorry for the pain he caused. He was sorry because he didn't want to lose the idea of Meath woman he could manipulate, the woman who kept forgiving. And I realized in that moment hadn't changed, and neither had I, if I stayed. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and said the words I knew I had to say, the words that had been stuck in my throat for so long. I can't do this anymore. I can't keep living for you. I can't keep pretending everything is fine when I'm dying inside. I deserve more than this. The words came out clearer, stronger than I ever imagined they could. And in that moment, I didn't just walk away from him. I walked away from everything I had allowed myself to tolerate. There was a long silence on the other end, and in that silence, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. He didn't fight it. He didn't argue. He just said, "Okay. Goodbye, Kate." And that was it. The finality of it hit me like a ton of bricks, but strangely, I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel angry. I just felt free. Free from the lies, free from the shame, free from the person I had been when I was with him. I hung up the phone, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. I could hear my own voice again. It wasn't just the end of a relationship, it was the beginning of something beautiful. It was the beginning of me. I started taking steps forward, small ones at first. I called old friends I had drifted away from. I spent time doing things I loved, things I hadn't had the time for in years. I went for walks, rediscovered old hobbies, started reading again. I laughed. I felt joy, real joy, like I hadn't felt in years. And when I looked at my daughter, I felt proud. Proud that I was teaching her what it meant to be strong, what it meant to be yourself, unapologetically. I wanted her to know that she could be anything she wanted. She didn't have to shrink for anyone. She didn't have to hide who she was. It wasn't easy, but it was real, and every day I felt a little more like the woman I was meant to be, not defined by the mistakes of my past, but by the strength I found in moving forward. And for the first time, I wasn't scared of the future. I was excited. For the first time, I was truly living, and I couldn't wait to see where this new chapter would take me. I posted my story on Reddit, unsure if I was doing the right thing, unsure if I was crazy for walking away, but I had to know. I needed to see if anyone else had been through the same thing, if anyone could tell me I wasn't making a mistake. My hands shook as I hit post, and I waited. The first response came in less than an hour from someone named True Self-Finding. It simply read, "You did the right thing. I've been where you are. You're not crazy. You're choosing yourself for the first time. That's the most important choice you'll ever make. Trust yourself." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that. For a second, I felt like I could finally exhale, like I was justified in my decision. Someone else out there understood. I wasn't alone in this fight. But then, there was another comment, This time from Healing Warrior 22. You're stronger than you think. Leaving is not easy, but staying in a relationship where you're invisible is far worse. You're choosing a future where you get to be seen, loved, and valued. Keep going. You're on the right path. This one made me cry. It felt like she could see right through me, like she understood exactly how it felt to be invisible, to constantly fight for someone who wouldn't even notice your struggle. Her words lit a fire in me, a reminder that I had to choose me, even if no one else could understand right now. Then came the comment from Real Talk 88, and I almost felt the blood leave my face when I read it. This is too drastic. Relationships take work. You're just running away from problems. If you'd just communicated better, you could have fixed this. You're throwing away something that could work if you try hard enough. I sat there, staring at the screen for what felt like an eternity. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them to mind their business. But part of the old me wanted to listen. It was the voice I had heard for years, telling me that love was about sacrificing and compromising. But I couldn't deny the truth that had been sitting with me for so long. I wasn't sacrificing for love anymore. I was sacrificing for nothing. He wasn't going to change. And I realized no matter how much effort I put in, it wasn't worth it if he wasn't willing to meet me halfway. That was when Invisible Woman8 dropped a comment that made me laugh. Is this about avoiding doing his laundry? Just kidding. But seriously, taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Don't go back to a life where you have to shrink yourself. I laughed for the first time in days. She was right, in a way. There were days when it felt like I was just taking care of him, feeding him, cleaning up after him, keeping the house in order, while my own needs went ignored. She was right, this wasn't just about leaving him. It was about not losing myself anymore. A moment later, Strength in Silence commented, "You're not just walking away from him. You're walking away from a part of yourself that thought it had to put up with this. You're not crazy, Kate. You're brave. And don't ever let anyone tell you you made a mistake. You did what you had to do." This hit me like a thunderbolt. Brave. I had never thought of it like that. But she was right. What I had done wasn't just about escaping pain. It was about claiming my power. And when I read those words, I realized something. I wasn't just surviving, I was now becoming the woman I had always wanted to be. But then, the real bombshell came from Broken But Healing, whose comment was brutally honest. Don't be naive, Kate. He didn't just treat you badly, he used you. And that's the hardest thing to admit. He used your kindness, your loyalty, your love, and turned it into a weapon. You deserve more than being someone's emotional crutch. You deserve someone who sees you for who you are, not who they need you to be. I froze. That single word used shattered me. I had never seen it that way, but it was true. I had been so blinded by wanting to make it work. I had let myself be used. And that realization, as painful as it was the turning point. No more excuses. No more hoping for change. I had been manipulated, and the most painful part was accepting it. But now I was finally awake. Then came the final comment, and it was the one that truly sealed my decision. Embrace Your Power wrote, "You're not walking away because you're scared. You're walking away because you're brave enough to stand up for yourself. This is your life, Kate. Don't waste another second wondering if you did the right thing. You did. Now it's time to start living for you." I sat there, staring at the screen, tears streaming down my face. I wasn't weak. I wasn't crazy. I had done the hardest thing anyone could do. I had chosen myself. And as I read that final comment, I knew, deep in my bones, that everything was going to be okay. I wasn't just leaving him behind. I was stepping into my own power. I closed my laptop, and, for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. The weight that had been on my chest, the doubt, the fear, it was all gone. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. And as I looked at my daughter, I felt a surge of love and strength. I wasn't doing this for me. I was doing it for her, for the future we were going to build. And I couldn't wait to see what came next. So here I am now, looking back at everything I've been through, everything I've learned. It hasn't been easy, and to be honest, it still hurts sometimes. But I'm no longer that woman who would tolerate being invisible, who would give pieces of herself away in the hopes of fixing someone else. I'm not perfect, but I'm finally whole. And I can't help but feel proud of that. I can't help but feel proud of myself for walking away from something that wasn't right, for choosing me when I spent years thinking I wasn't enough. I think about what I've been through, and I realize I wasn't just breaking free from him. I was breaking free from all the limiting beliefs I had about myself. I've spent so much time thinking that love means sacrifice, that I had to lose myself to make it work. But now I know that love, true love, is about finding someone who sees you, who lets you be exactly who you are without trying to change you. And, most importantly, it's about loving yourself enough to know when something isn't right, and having the strength to walk away from it. I've learned that walking away doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough to say, enough is enough. It means you're strong enough to give yourself the life you deserve, not one built on compromises and hidden pain. And now, I look ahead, I look at the future, and I'm no longer afraid. I'm excited. I'm ready. And the next chapter, this new life I'm creating for myself, well, it's going to be incredible. But here's the thing. I know I'm not alone. I know there are so many of you out there who are facing the same thing. You're in that moment of uncertainty, of doubt. You're wondering if leaving is the right choice, if you're strong enough to walk away from something you thought was meant to last. But let me tell you, you are strong enough. You are worth it. Your happiness matters. Your peace matters. If you're going through something like this right now, or if you've been through it in the past, I want you to know you're not alone. Comment the number 1 if you've ever felt invisible or trapped in a relationship where you weren't seen for who you truly are. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear how you found your strength. Together, we can support each other. We can lift each other up. Because this journey, this healing, is something we all need to do together. This is not the end. This is the beginning. If you've ever felt invisible inside your own home, give this video a like. You deserve to feel seen, to feel valued. I want to see how many of us are ready to stand up for ourselves and say, I am worth more. If you believe in finding your voice, in choosing yourself, and in the power of walking away from what no longer serves you, subscribe to this channel. There's so much more ahead. And I promise, you won't want to miss it. You deserve to keep growing. You deserve to keep rising. This journey of healing is just beginning for all of us, and we're doing it together. But here's the most important thing I want you to do right now. Share this video with someone you know who's going through the same struggle. Share it with someone who's questioning if they should walk away, or if they're strong enough to make that change. Share it because we are not alone in this. Share it because, together, we will remind each other that we deserve better, we deserve to be seen, we deserve to be loved the right way, and we deserve to be happy. You don't have to be alone in this fight. We're in this together, and together we rise. This is just the beginning. The best is yet to come.